Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the nerd on the street, and today we are building an AMD desktop. Alright everybody, this might come as a surprise, but I am building a desktop computer today. This is going to be my new main computer workstation. Now, if you've been a subscriber for a while, you might know that I currently have a great laptop, and you might be asking yourself, Jacob, why are you building a desktop? Long story short, I've made a lot of mistakes in the past couple of years, and one of those mistakes has been buying a laptop computer when I should have gotten a desktop. Right now I'm working on an animated web series, and I needed to be able to plug in more than one external graphics card into my computer, which is impossible to do with a laptop. So once again, to cut a long story very short, I ordered the parts for a desktop. I'll talk about that a little bit more, but right now I'm getting tired of crouching, and this is a terrible camera angle to do an introduction in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to go through all the parts as we get to them. There will be a full parts list down in the description of this video below. Alright, so the first thing we're going to unbox, just because the box is so huge, is our case. This is an Enthoo Pro Tempered Glass Edition desktop case by Fantex. This is the first Fantex case that I've gotten. I think that they weren't even making cases back when I built my first computer at the start of this channel 6 years ago. But this thing looks pretty nice, so we're gonna go ahead and open it up. I'll slice it open with my knife here. Now, the one downside to having a desktop rather than a laptop is going to be having a much larger case, obviously. The laptop was very compact, whereas the desktop is going to be quite a bit bigger. Here you can see kind of what's in the top of this thing. If I tilt this a little bit, we're actually gonna take this off the desk so that I can take the case out of the box. Okay, here we go. So this is what you get in the box. Looks like it's got some substantial packaging, which is good because this case has one side that is made out of tempered glass. Now, since it's tempered, it shouldn't break super easily, but it is glass, so I was a little bit worried about the packaging. Looks like we're doing pretty good though. So I'm gonna pick up the box down here and get it out of my way. Alright, just so you guys know, every single time I build a computer on this channel, the videos end up coming out terribly, and the videos always get a ton of dislikes because of how disjointed they are, so I'm gonna try and do a little bit better with this one. So here is our case sitting inside the plastic bag, inside the styrofoam. We're gonna spin it around here. Okay, and I think that this side is the glass side. I can't really tell from outside this plastic bag, but we'll go ahead and take the styrofoam off. Starting with, looks like this might be the top, actually. Yes, okay. Alright, take the other styrofoam off right here. And yes, this is the bottom on this side. So we can go ahead and start sliding the plastic off, then we'll tip the whole thing over so that it's right side up, and we'll remove the plastic from the top. This might look better if I turn off that light behind us. There we go. Like I said, guys, trying to do better with this one. This video, okay. Yeah, my desk is actually smaller now than the last time I built a computer, even though I like my current desk a lot. Alright, we'll take the plastic off, and there we go. This is the case. Like I just said, we do have tempered glass here on this side. Looks very nice. Whew, okay, and it looks like we do have like a magnetic dust filter thing sitting at the top here. That's interesting. And then we'll go ahead, we'll peel the protective plastic off the side here. Alright, this looks really nice. Last time I built a computer, my other computer's sitting right across the room. I might put a picture of it up or something, but I did have a plastic window in my computer case last time I built a computer. For a while, I didn't like the idea of a whole side of a computer being glass, but the System 76 Leopard workstation, not the current version, but the previous model, that one looked really nice, and I liked how the big glass window looked on that, so this thing looks really nice. I think I'm gonna like having this around. Okay, and there's a sticker here. I think we can just peel that off nice and easily there. There we go, not leaving much residue at all. Okay. Yeah, my main concerns when it comes to cases for me personally are hard drive bays, like the number of hard drive bays, and just the amount of general space. I like big cases. I don't do those compact, tiny cases. It's easier to work with if there's plenty of space to put your hands in and screw stuff in and whatnot. So that's what we're going for here. I'm not super concerned with cable management, as you can probably tell from the corner of this frame right now, but I'm gonna try and make the cable management in the computer look really nice, like I said, just for you guys, just for the video. Alright, and we will revisit this later, but for now I'm actually going to take it off of the desk so that we can unbox some of the other stuff we've got. I'll bring it back later when we're starting to put things into it. Alright everyone, so what else are we putting in this computer here today? Well, if we come over to the left side of my desk, we've got our motherboard is an ASRock X399 Tai Chi. This is the exact same motherboard pretty much as another model that was slightly more expensive that was like the gaming edition. The Tai Chi version basically just doesn't have the RGB lighting, which I don't really care about anyway. This thing's gonna look more professional anyway, and the other one was also sold out, but this one was still there at Newegg. So we'll go ahead and start unboxing this thing. The front of this does have Velcro. You can just open the whole box right up. It's got some information about the product here. On the right side, we can see through the plastic the motherboard itself sitting right there with this nice little gears design. Looks very clockwork-ish. So if we close this back up, we can open up the entire box by flipping it around, opening up this tab, and just pulling the top open right here. Open it up on all sides, and we've got a little dot we can pull. Okay, and here is the motherboard right there inside of some styrofoam. This right here is the socket. It's the STR4 socket, I think it's called. And this socket is absolutely huge. This is the thing that the processor goes into, and that is way bigger than any of the Intel sockets that I've dealt with before, because this processor is way bigger than any of the Intel processors I've dealt with before. We'll get to that in just a second, but first let's finish up our motherboard unboxing. Gonna move our box down here, but we also get in the packaging another box. We can open this up into two dividers. On one side, looks like an SLI cable, looks like we've got some SATA cables, 90-degree connectors. We've got antenna sticks for the built-in Wi-Fi that this motherboard has. I'll be interested to see if that Wi-Fi works on Linux. If it does, then I'll be connecting this up with Wi-Fi. If it doesn't, I do have Ethernet over power line adapters already set up in my room anyway. But my laptop was using Wi-Fi, and I am going to try and connect this up with Wi-Fi if we can. Alright, we do have some SLI connectors that actually say NVIDIA on them, which is interesting. We don't actually have an NVIDIA graphics card. We've got an AMD one for this build. And what do we have here? Aside from, I see the IO shield that we've got. Trying to get this other plastic bag off of it. Looks like just some screws. We've got two plastic bags with a single tiny screw in each of them. Camera's not focusing on that, no way. But right here we do have the IO shield. Now in my last build, I skipped the IO shield. In my i7 workstation that I built at the start of this channel, I did not put the IO shield in. I tried, ended up not getting it to go in. This time I'm going to try and put it in. Not because I care about the IO shield, but just for you guys watching, because I know it's a better video if I put the IO shield in, according to your previous feedback. So we're gonna get that done later. In the other half of this box, we've got documentation. We've got ASRock Wi-Fi connector utility for Windows only, so we're not gonna be using that. Anyone new to the channel, I only run Linux. So this thing's gonna be running 100% Linux, Arch Linux to start out. We've got a software setup guide, once again, not gonna be using that. We do have a quick installation guide, which I am gonna keep handy just for setting up like our processor, the cooler that I've got, if I need to reference how to screw anything in. This book's actually important to kind of utilize. So I'll keep this one out of the box, but the rest of this we'll put away here. Okay, and we'll keep the motherboard in its little protective box until we're actually ready to start putting things into it. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff we have. Let's take a look at our processor. This right here is an AMD Ryzen Threadripper processor. This is an 8-core, 16-thread processor. So all of my previous computers, or my past two computers, have been Intel quad-core processors with hyper-threading. They have 8 virtual cores. This thing has 8 physical cores and 16 virtual cores. Now you can get Threadripper processors with 12 cores or even 16 physical cores, which gives you 32 virtual threads. The reason why I went with this one, the 8-core model, is because this was the least expensive and it's also the highest clock speed. The more cores you have, the lower the speed goes, which depending on what you're doing, you might want more cores and less speed, but since I'm coming from a 4 gigahertz Intel processor, I didn't want to go down too much, so this is a 3.8, I think, 8-core processor. Still going to be more cores than I'm used to, and that should be useful for transcoding media, which I do very often. This is going to be a primarily video workstation machine. Yeah, so 3.8 gigahertz base, 4.0 gigahertz with the turbo boost. You can see in the sticker on the side there, got that nice Ryzen logo everywhere. And I'm very happy to be able to actually buy an AMD machine, since Intel has been caught recently putting all sorts of proprietary firmware in their processors based on Minix and not telling anyone. AMD looks like a much more ethical company to support right now, so I'm really excited to finally be able to have an AMD machine after so long. You know, my first laptop ever was an AMD machine, but it was super cheap. This thing is not super cheap, I'll put it that way. So this should give Intel a run for its money. Very nice packaging. I'm turning it around here, trying to figure out how to open it. Here we go. Rip here, it says. So we will do that. Yeah, this box is much bigger than the Intel box, for sure. Okay. And paper just comes off the entire package like that. Alright, we'll set that stuff off to the side down here. And now we just got a crap ton of foam. Looks like if we set this up right here, we can actually lift the top foam off. And then we've got this eggshell thing here. Let me zoom in here, get you guys a better shot of this, since this is quite interesting packaging. I can kind of grab this and just lift that right up there. Okay, that kind of looks like a little CRT or something, doesn't it? We'll set that down there for now. Okay, and in the top, or I guess this is the bottom of the styrofoam, we've got a packet here. Looks like we got a screwdriver right there, which we'll probably use for installation, and this is a bracket that will go on the back side of the motherboard, I believe. So that will be very important. We'll keep this stuff handy on our desk. And this right here, we'll see what's in here. We got a sticker for the case, which I probably will put on. We've got a bigger sticker. Don't know if I'll put that one on or not, but you can see what the small one looks like right there. Yeah, so on the back here, we've got installation instructions for the STR4 socket. Looks like it also includes instructions for lots of older AMD sockets as well, but of course this is the newest one, so it's going to use STR4. So we will keep that handy as well, because I'll be referencing that in just a few minutes. And here, if we turn this thing around, unlock. So it looks like you have to twist to unlock here. Okay, this is really crazy packaging. So this comes out. This is all just plastic packaging. Not that I'm complaining, it looks awesome. And right here, looks like that is the processor right there. Once again, this is like at least twice the size of the Intel processor that I last used, which makes sense because it has twice the cores. But it's really, really something to behold. And there is like a metal bracket going across here. If we pull and take that off, now we can sort of take this black piece off here, flip it up. Oh, here we go. You grab it from the top and bottom. So we grab it here, just like that, and this thing just comes off like so. And here is the processor right here. That's where our thermal paste is going to go. There's a QR code on there that I probably shouldn't be showing you, but oh well. And I'm not going to pick this thing up until I'm actually ready to remove it. There's a little engraved writing here on this orange piece around here that says Carrier Frame SP3. You can see it glinting in the light right there. So this is really something with the packaging. Gonna go ahead and set this down for a moment. Alright, and you know what? I actually think we are going to go ahead and install the processor in the motherboard at this point. So I'm just going to bring the camera in, and then we'll do that. Alright, so we've got our motherboard right here, and I am just going to take it out of the cardboard at this point, just so it's easier for us to work with. So it looks like our styrofoam on the edges should just come up like that. Okay, here we go. This is a nice looking piece of equipment right here. You can't even see the whole thing in one shot. Here, why don't I lower my desk down a little more? Okay, that should just about do it for you. So this is the CPU socket, like I said. At this point, I am going to get that instruction booklet out, and I'm going to read this real quick. There is something interesting under the read this first section. This is AMD saying, use only the heatsink / fan provided. Use of any other heatsink / fan will void the warranty. I have a hard time believing that, given AMD's demographic. And on the other side of this pamphlet, here we should have instructions. Alright, so we need our screwdriver. So we're going to loosen these 3 screws right here in the order that's written on there. 1, 2, 3. So it looks like in the instructions, this should be fairly easy to do. We should just be sliding the processor into the bracket. So the bracket is starting to come up. There we go. It popped up there. Looks like that's like spring-loaded right there. Okay. So we are going to remove the socket protector here. Okay, so you have to pull it up without sliding it, is what's going on right now. Alrighty. Got that to come up. Alright, so we're going to slide this plastic piece out, just like that. Next we're going to take our processor, which is still in its nice orange protector here. We're going to take the entire orange piece out of this plastic by sliding it. Okay, so you can see the pins on the motherboard right there, and if we turn the processor around, you can see the pads on the processor that's going to connect with those pins and make contact. Don't touch these, don't touch those if you've never done this before. Okay, at this point it looks like we're supposed to slide the processor down into this metal piece while it's still in this protective orange plastic. So they're making it quite easy for us to do everything without breaking anything. So we will slide this down until it clicks. Was that a click? Carefully lower CPU and frame holder onto socket until clicked down. That's clicked. Next, carefully lower CPU, or lower socket lid, okay. So we're gonna leave that entire orange piece in there, so you don't even have to, see this used to be a lot harder, because you would have had to like carefully grasp the edges of the processor, but at this point they just give you an entire holder that just stays in the motherboard with it. So that's actually very convenient and less stressful than the Intel installation was last time I did one of those. Now, tighten in 1, 2, 3 order until wrench clicks, okay. So you tighten it in the same order that you untightened, not in the opposite order or anything. And that looks beautiful. That is a really nice looking chip right there. I am really excited to see how this thing performs, because it has been so many years since I've used an AMD processor. You're supposed to keep tightening this until the wrench clicks. Okay, wrench just clicked. So that's 1. We'll tighten number 2 here. This is way easier. Like, there's no Intel processors, you always have to like lower that spring-loaded thing down and you feel like you're gonna break it. Whereas this, you just have to tighten the screwdriver and it tells you when it's done. Definitely AMD is made for custom building, whereas Intel is more for manufacturers. Okay, screwdriver clicked on number 2 there, now we're doing number 3. Okay, screwdriver clicked on number 3, cool. So there is our processor installed in the motherboard. While we've got this sitting here, I also want to install the RAM. And actually, while our motherboard is right here, we'll take some of this plastic off. We've got plastic on one of the heat sinks right here. We'll just take that right off. You obviously don't want that on when you turn the computer on. It's just there to keep it nice and shiny while it's in the box. We've also got some plastic over here on the inside of this nice, cool-looking gear thing. We will peel that right off. Now, as you can see, this motherboard has 8 RAM slots. I actually ordered 32 gigs of RAM for this thing, and it came in 4 sticks of 8. So in the future, I can upgrade to 64 gigs. My laptop currently has 48 gigs. I didn't want to do a downgrade, since I had gotten used to having lots of Blender scenes and videos and Kdenlive open at the same time using a lot of RAM. 32 gigs is a little bit of a downgrade, but it's nothing like 16. Like, I can still have a crap ton of stuff open with 32 gigs of RAM, and I'll still have space to expand in the future. I just didn't want to spend all of my money at once right now, especially because I will still have my laptop and I will still be using it. Alright, so I'm just going to clear off some of this AMD stuff off of our desk here. And look at this, our safety cover from the motherboard can actually just slide right into our packaging from the AMD processor, and you can put that right back in the box where it came from. Okay, so here's the RAM we got. It is a G.Skill Fortis DDR4 RAM, 2400 megahertz speed, cast latency 15, 15, 15, 39 is what it says there. This was on the motherboard's list of compatible RAM, and it was available on Newegg, and it came in the sizes that I wanted. That's why I got this specific model of RAM. No other particular reason, but you can see we've got 4 sticks of 8 gigabytes for a total of 32 right now. We focus the camera there, you can see inside the side of that thing. There is some metal on the outside of these to act as a heat sink. There's not a big flashy crazy heat sink. I didn't get one with RGB light up heat sinks or anything. No need for all of that. But at this point I am just going to read through the manual for the motherboard and just figure out which ones of these RAM slots I want to use first, because I want everything to be in dual channel or quad channel or whatever it's going to use for the maximum speed here. And it looks like we've got a postcard that came with our documentation for this motherboard for some reason. That's really funny. This might be for the rebate or something, because there was a rebate for this thing. But we will go ahead and look through our manual here. Alright, so it looks like we might want to do all 4 on one side here. Just going to make sure. So for quad channel configurations, you always need to install identical, same brand, speed, size, and chip type, DDR4 dual inline memory module pairs. It is not allowed to install a DDR, DDR2, or DDR3 module into a DDR4 slot, obviously. We've got 4, so we're going to do this one. B2, A2, C2, and D2 apparently is what we're supposed to do. So according to this picture here, looks like the picture should go this way, looking at the screws for our processor there. So it looks like we actually want to do the outside of the top, and then one away from that, and the outside on the bottom and one away from that. That's not how I would have thought you wanted to do this, but that's why we read the manual. It's because that's exactly what it's telling us to do. As you can see, we want RAM blank, RAM blank, blank RAM, blank RAM, according to our chart that's telling us how it should be set up. And that's why we always read the manual. So let's take this RAM out of the package and do that. The RAM is probably the least nice packaging here. Oh no, that was super easy to open actually. Alright, so this just unfolds. We've got a sticker for our case, which we'll put on later. Set that off to the side. Okay, and here are our trays with all of our RAM modules. So I will pop these out one by one of the tray. Okay. And it looks like this is the type of RAM slot that only one of the sides opens and closes. The other side is just stuck there in one spot. Seems to be what a lot of motherboard manufacturers are doing these days. So we will stick this on like so. It's a bit of a snug fit, just so you guys know if you're using these same parts. And we will push down here until we feel some clicks. Fairly certain that is all the way in right there. I'm about to do 3 other ones, so if they all feel the same, then we should be good to go. DDR4 RAM, if you haven't seen it before, I recently started working with it at school because we were upgrading our computers where I work in my college's IT department. But you can see down here, DDR4 RAM, the pins actually get longer. They start out shorter and then they get longer in the middle and then go back in on the other side. Just something interesting I noticed while I was installing it at school, and one way you can very easily tell if you're working with DDR4 RAM or an older version, aside from having to count all the pins, or just read the sticker, of course. So we'll pop in number 2 here, and press it down, okay, felt the clicks, and we'll come down to the other side, put this in here. Now this side is getting awfully close to this heat sink, but that's where they told us to put it, so that's where we'll put it. Here's stick number 4 to complete our 32 gigs. Okay, there's the clicks there. So these should be all good to go. Hopefully, we'll see later. So we will close up that RAM packaging, put that back out of our way. Alright, so we're only about 45 minutes into the video here. We're doing pretty well, especially after I edit that down, I mean. And there is one last thing I want to put in here before we put the motherboard in the case. That's going to be our SSD. Now, why am I connecting the SSD to our motherboard before we put everything in the case? Because this is an M.2 SSD that's going to look a lot like a RAM chip. It doesn't plug in and go into a shelf like hard drives and older SSDs do. This thing is actually going to stick onto the motherboard right here into one of these little M.2 slots, because this is an M.2 NVMe PCI SSD. As you can see, it says NVMe M.2. This is a Samsung 970 Pro 1TB SSD. This is the largest capacity that they sell in the Pro line, which does have a higher speed and, I would presume, durability than the Evo line. To start out with, this is going to be the only storage in the computer. That's why I wanted the Pro and not the Evo. If I'm going to be putting all my stuff on just an SSD, I don't want it to be something that's going to fail anytime soon. In the future, I might get another one of these and put them in an LVM RAID configuration, or I might get a hard drive and, you know, start backing up to that. On the back of the box here, we've got some information about this particular product, but we'll go ahead and on the top, there's just a seal we can slice through right there. Alright, and now we will open this thing up like so. Okay. Not the cleanest box opening I've ever done, but it's alright. So this is going to come in, it looks like just a plastic tray. And nothing else in the box. That was all there is to it. So we'll set the box off to the side. And this right here, there's a whole terabyte of high-speed storage in that tiny little stick. We are really moving along fast with regards to storage technology, guys. So this is pretty exciting. We can go ahead and take the plastic covering off of this. So now we've just got the softer plastic making up the tray. This is even smaller than I thought it would be, even looking at pictures of it. I've never installed one of these in a desktop before. So I am going to look through the desktop motherboard and see which one of these slots we should use first. Because like Linux is going to refer to one of these as NVMe 1, and one of these is NVMe 2, and there's 3 on here total that we can use. So, alright, so looking at our motherboard layout here, it looks like M.2_1 is actually the one that's by itself, and then 2 and 3 are the ones that are next to each other. So slot 1 is going to be right here, and that's where we're going to want to put our M.2 storage right now so that it shows up as disk number 1 in our computer. So we are going to have to get that screw out of there, I think. And actually, I don't even know if the screw is in there. Yeah, I don't think the screw's actually even in there yet. So that was probably one of those things in the box. Let me just go grab that. Yep, remember those tiny little screws in their own individual bags I mentioned earlier? Those are M.2 screws. So we'll grab one of those. I will take it out of its tiny little plastic bag here. Okay, and this thing is going to be a very, very small Phillips head if we focus on that there, as you can see. So we are going to, at this point, take our M.2 drive out of our packaging here. We'll grab that. Man, this is really next level stuff. So we are going to slide this into the slot right here. Right there, you gotta kind of push it in sideways at an angle, sort of, just like installing RAM in a laptop actually. And now we can push it down, and once we get that screw with the screwdriver. Alright, I did just go and get one of my better tiny little Phillips head screwdrivers, so now we can go ahead and put this thing on. Gently push this thing down, and we will screw our M.2 drive right in. There we go. Took a second to find the right angle to screw at. But at that point, it is in. So that should be all that we have to do there. Okay. So at this point, we are going to go ahead and put the motherboard into the case. I am going to back the camera up here, and I'll be right back once I've got the case back over here.